Seeking leave to table it. Question number 5, Dr. Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister and asks, does he stand by his statement, quote, "We're not environmental bandits. If we don't believe drilling can take place in a way that is environmentally sustainable and wouldn't put at undue risk the environment, we wouldn't go with it. If so, why?"
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I stand by my full statement, which included that we want to balance our economic opportunities with our environmental responsibilities, because it's true.
Dr. Russel Norman.
Supplementary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How is deep-sea drilling not putting the environment at undue risk when, just this month, Dane Maxwell of Maritime New Zealand said about the government's oil response equipment, and I quote, "Most of the response equipment that we have is designed for near-shore sheltered conditions, and really there isn't available internationally any equipment specifically designed to operate in the rough kind of conditions offshore that we have in New Zealand."
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, well, that's one person's view. I think it's also worth remembering that if somebody gets a permit to go and undertake these activities in the EEZ, not only would this government be filling a gap that was previously left open, but also there would no doubt be conditions on that. And finally, as I said yesterday, there have been 50,000 wells drilled in the Gulf of Mexico. Is the member arguing that all of those wells were high risk and should have been closed up?
Dr. Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How is deep-sea drilling not putting the environment at undue risk when the head of the Petroleum Exploration and Production Association said in April 2011, "You know, there is no absolute guarantee that disasters won't happen, and if you had a major catastrophe, it would be just as bad as you have in North America, aka Deepwater Horizon"?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, well, firstly, the member asked me yesterday about the head of Anadarko. One of the things he did say to me in the meeting was that there was a lot of learnings that had come out of that situation and that they can be applied so those things don't happen again. Secondly, if the member is reflecting on a comment by an individual that basically says there are no guarantees in life, well, actually that's true, but on the same basis, the member will never get in a plane again, never get in a car again, never get in a train again, never do a lot of things he does, because the risk is that something very bad can happen.
Dr. Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How is deep-sea drilling not putting the environment at undue risk when a leak at 2.5 kilometres underwater cannot be fixed by divers and companies are forced to rely on robots and relief rigs, and this is diametrically different than operating in shallow water like the case in Taranaki, where the deepest production well is only 125 metres deep?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, all of those issues and mitigation of any risk would have to be considered as part of an application to drill in the EEZ.
Dr. Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How is deep-sea drilling not putting the environment at undue risk, given that the Gulf of Mexico disaster was stopped only when a second rig drilled a relief well, and this government won't require a relief rig to be on-site during deep-sea drilling operations in New Zealand?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, well, the member's jumping to conclusions. He doesn't know what conditions will be set. But in the end, this is really the fundamental problem, isn't it, with the Green Party? What they are arguing is everything contains some risk, so they don't want to do anything, except they want to give lots and lots of money away, which is why they come up with the only solution that person could come up with: print it.
Point of order, Dr. Russel Norman.
Mr. Speaker, that was not a question about the Prime Minister's former job as a currency speculator. It was about deep-sea oil production.
Order. 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 I think we'll consider it a draw at that point. So further supplementary question, Dr. Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that the Prime Minister is putting enormous weight on this new piece of flimsy legislation, the EEZ Act, how does he think that this particular piece of legislation will plug an oil leak at 2.5 kilometres underwater? Does he plan to shove the legislation in the hole? Does he think that might work?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's unlikely. A couple of bits of paper will work. But Mr. Speaker, let's cut to the chase here. We're a government that's actually filling a gap that's been missing from our environmental protection. That member's been in the House for how long? And how many members' bills has he put in about this issue? Oh, that's right, none. What he's focused on is printing money. That's his focus of attention.
Point of order, Dr. Russel.
It's not about the Prime Minister's currency speculation. It was about deep-sea...
Order. Now, order. On that occasion, I invite the member to reflect on the question he asked, and it kind of invited the sort of response he got. Supplementary question, Dr. Russel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Why has this government taken a major anti-environmental turn since the 2011 election? Is it because of the rising influence of Stephen Joyce and others, environmental bandits within the National Party, who now dominate the Cabinet and the Prime Minister?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Shock horror, it's Stephen Joyce's fault. No, it's because this is a government that wants to, on an environmentally sensible and considered way, also grow the economic opportunities for New Zealanders. That member wants to go down to the West Coast and say it's really bad that people are losing their jobs potentially at Spring Creek, while exactly at the same time he's stopping them getting a job down the road. I call that hypocrisy.
Question number 6, the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta.